If you are like me and know that free enterprise is the greatest opportunity in the world, but you also see there are huge issues starting to arise, like why is mentorship decreasing in popularity? Why do entrepreneurs like us who love to succeed see people fail at the top and never leave true significance? And how do people like us make a lasting impact on the world? And is it possible for enough entrepreneurial leaders together to make a real difference? These are the blaring questions, and this podcast is the answer. Journey with me, your host, Christian. Together we will challenge the status quo and conquer our legacies.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Journey with Christian podcast. Today, guys, we have someone extremely special to share with you. He truly believes the world needs a huge dose of kindness and positivity. He spreads his message through motivational speaking and content creating, and he's a life coach and a developer at life. He's extremely passionate for helping people. He's the founder of the group Thinkers at Work, and he also volunteers his time to help job seekers find employment opportunities, and he builds a community to offer support for entrepreneurs. Ladies and gentlemen, he actually has an incredible book out on Amazon right now that you can go get, Nature Flow, a guide to manifesting happiness and successful living. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO of Real One-on-One Consulting, LLC, Jaris Tucker. How are you doing today, Jaris?
Thank you so much, man. That was a great intro. This is an honor and a privilege for me, you taking the time off. So thank you, man.
No, thank you. We really, and honestly, when I really started kind of just connecting with you over LinkedIn, it was just really cool. Obviously, the stuff that you have to offer, the inspiration, but not just the inspiration, but just the knowledge that you have. If you don't mind, just tell our audience a little bit more about yourself, man. Who's Jaris Tucker, man?
Well, my name is Jaris Tucker. Going deeper than just my name, I'm somebody who understands that I have a duty and an obligation to push kindness and push positivity, because that's just been embedded in my DNA. I've always been an extremely positive person. So just want to kind of help people while helping myself. I'm growing really fast. I'm meeting a lot of people, but I'm actually helping people grow too. So I think that's just really cool.
100%. And that's really cool. And, and that's what the whole world is really about, to add value. So let me ask you this. At what point in your life did you kind of really just start realizing that potential in you, and you realize this is what I am meant to be on this earth for?
I'll say I always had this kind of inner desire to know, like, I was meant to do better, but I was so shy and so insecure about a lot of things that I just left it in the back of my brain. And when I started, I was put in a leadership role, was a production supervisor for a long time, and I learned while managing and leading people that I kind of had a gift to, I would deal with people that, just didn't want to work, and I would just, talk to them and just kind of, give them a different perspective on things, letting them know, look, you really don't have a choice if you want to be here. You have to work. But then I would go a little bit deeper and say, look, do you have kids? And, I would ask them about, what they had going on personally, and I realized that I could serve myself and the world better, not just being a production supervisor, but being somebody who could use my voice to speak to anybody that was willing to listen. So I would say about maybe 3 years ago, I just kind of woke up one day and said, look, I have 2 children. I want to leave them something where they can look at their father in a good light. And I said, well, I like communicating. I like talking to people. I realized that I have a special gift. So I just started taking small steps to conquer my fear. And I'm realizing that fear to me was nothing but an illusion and an excuse not to really do what I'm doing now.
Amen to that. So then with fear and overcoming that fear, and, just because obviously you having, 2 kids, you had a family, you had, a job security, if you will, to all of a sudden be entrepreneurial. And I shouldn't say, just all of a sudden, it was obviously a thought in your head, but to go and actually pursue that. I would love to know that story a little bit. What kind of really just made that one last little, to go at fear full throttle 100%?
Well, I really didn't have a choice. I was, like I said, production supervisor. Everything was going good. Every crew and every department that I was responsible for, we did very good. I met a lot of good people. But one thing I realized was I was working a lot of hours and I just didn't feel appreciated because a lot of people just don't know when you're doing little small stuff. I didn't really need a pat on the back or anything. I just wanted to, feel like everybody else and be treated like everybody else, and I just didn't feel that was happening. So something came to head one day, and I said, you know what, this is not for me. Kind of separated my ways. Everything was good, no beef, no problems. But from that day that I quit working from there, before I quit, I had already started making little plans and notes to write a book and to own my own company, because I knew that if they weren't appreciating me how I thought I should be appreciated, that I needed to work for myself. And I tell everybody that if you don't feel appreciated, then you cannot blame the other person. You have to take control of your own life. And that's what I made it on my head to do. So when I started working there, I started my own marketing company, Real 101 Consulting. And I thought everything was going to be good because I said, well, I'm putting in 16 hours a week for my last job, working 7 days a week. I said, I'll do the same thing for myself. And, 6 months, everything should be good. Well, that wasn't the case, because when you go full-fledged into a business working for yourself, I didn't take account of, having to get customers, because I thought I had a good reputation and people would just buy into me initially, but it didn't happen. That was actually almost 2 years ago. And to this date, I'm just now seeing the benefits of my hard work.
And that's awesome, though. You stay with it consistent. And so, just backtracking, because I really want to hit this point. I really appreciate you sharing this, because, it is that concept of really, in all essence, and I'm never really against jobs. Jobs are really a great stepping stone to obviously achieving greater things. But at the end of the day, like you mentioned, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can do that job. And then you have to go out there and really grasp what you're passionate about, which is, of course, really networking and developing people. So then when you're doing the marketing consulting, and like you said, 2 years down the road, what kept you going? Was there some support system? Was it just the intuition of yourself? You just knew that you were meant, and you were going to get results. What was it inside of you? And I'm always just intrigued. Everybody has a different, ambition, if you will. But what kept you going, dude?
What kept me going was I knew I had to provide for my family. I didn't have a choice. So I went from making very good money to making $0. So I was in a good position. I hired this big-time supervisor in my community. Everybody knew me. So I said, look, I cannot go backwards. I'm not going to go backwards. I got people looking at me, my kids, myself, for one. I have very high self-esteem, and I said, well, I'm not going to go backwards. So what I initially did was, the same day that I quit, I started writing these daily affirmations. So I went on like a 30-day challenge, so to speak. Every day I woke up, I would recite these different affirmations, look at myself in the mirror every single day. So I would notice that first week that I was doing these affirmations, it was just kind of like I was just repeating them, wasn't nothing going on. So right after I would repeat those affirmations, looking at myself in the mirror, I would write down 2 small goals that I wanted to do before the day was over with. Something as simple as just going to get my business cards, or maybe spending 2 or 3 hours going to every shopping market or every business, just asking to speak to the business owner, just telling them, I do business marketing, promotion, advertising, branding. So by the time the 3rd week hit, while I was waking up doing these affirmations, I began to notice that it was working. I kind of was feeling what I was saying. By the 4th week, I just felt it so to the point where when I would say these affirmations, they were absolutely believable. And when I would step outside of my house, in my mind, I had already built how I had already created this vision of how I wanted to be, how I wanted my company to run, how I wanted things to show up on LinkedIn. I knew I wanted to do podcasts. I knew I wanted to do motivational speaking. So you take that, you go back 2 years, and then you take me to where I'm at today. All of that hard work that I put in for those 30 days straight has paid off to the point where I'm doing what I said I wanted to do 2 years ago. The next 30 days, right after I did that 30-day affirmation challenge, I went on a 30-day challenge where I was just saying, anytime an opportunity comes across my path for me to show kindness, any way that it comes, I wouldn't go looking for it. I would just wait. Well, maybe somebody that needed help putting their groceries in the car. It might be somebody that was short $2 or $3 in the grocery store. I was just immediately right on top of it. For 30 days, I just went out of my way, just being kind, consciously being the most kind person I have ever been in my life without asking for anything in return.
Wow, that is awesome. I mean, I meet people all the time, and they're going out there. I'm building a business, but I don't see any results. I said, how long you been doing it for? Oh gosh, 2 weeks. And that's why I think I really appreciate your story, Jaris, because it's like, when I hear people that go out there, I built it in a 6-figure business in 6 months, and boom, I can't relate to that. A lot of people can't. But that's why I think I relate to, obviously, I think a lot of our audience will relate to who you are, Jaris, because you just put in the work ethic at the beginning and over a period of time, and now you're starting to see those results. And so that's why I appreciate that. So then, when you were developing that work ethic, first of all, what got you deciding to say, you know what, I'm going to take this challenge?
Well, I was listening to a lot of motivational speakers on YouTube as I was looking for jobs and kind of writing my book. I was just looking for inspiration. So I ran across different people like Eric Thomas. I love Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, and I would just listen to them, how they would just give me motivation to do different things. I knew that. I said, look, you don't have this good paying job anymore. I knew when I quit that I said, I'm not going to fill out another job application. I didn't want to work for anybody. And I just kind of, when I know that I want to do something, I sign a imaginary contract in my head. So if I say, hey, look, I'm going to stop smoking cigarettes. Once I, take the time out and prepare myself, once that contract is signed in my head, then I already know it's a done deal. It's 100% sure shot that I'm going to do what I said I was going to do.
Dude, I appreciate what you just said there, because it's like, what you just said is you burn all the bridges, really. And there was no other way except forward. And yes. So, because, so let me ask you this, kind of really diving into that.
Mm-hmm.
You had the credentials. You could have gone to get a job.
Yeah.
What was that? And, obviously you saw you had a family. You need to support them. You need to make some money. But what was that thing that, I guess really in essence, what I find, what was that mindset switch that all of a sudden said, you know what, instead of being an excuse maker, I'm going to be a solution seeker. I'm going to find whatever it takes to make this happen?
Because I know I got a lot of people watching me, and a lot of people are wondering, hey, look, he's not the supervisor anymore. He's not doing this. What is he going to do now? Wow. Then I started to look at myself and say, hey, look, I don't have to do or be what everybody wanted me to be. I never cared about being a supervisor in the first place. I just happened to be all right at it. I really cared about being an entrepreneur, and when that happened, I just kind of laid everything off. I looked at myself in the mirror 30 days straight. Right after the affirmations was over, I would just look and just be honest with myself and say, hey, look, you're not at this level anymore. You're down here. What are you going to do to change? And I've been the type of person that I don't even like asking for help. So I said, look, I had to take things into my own hands, because part of my vision was me being able to use my story to help other people, because I knew hey, look, I lost a good job, but guess what? Sooner or later, I'm going to be able to talk to Oprah, telling a million people, hey, look, I lost my job. I did not quit. I did not give up. You can do the same thing. Because people that know me, they know, hey, look, if Jaris is talking about this and he did that, then guess what? I can do it too, because I'm a real person. I'm so genuine that when you talk to me and when you deal with me, you have to respect what I'm saying, because there's no other way around it. I'm going to be straight up. I'm going to be real. And I just knew then, I said, this will make a great story or movie or autobiography one day. Hey, this guy quit and he turned something into nothing.
100%, man, that's awesome. And it's 100% mindset. And that's why I think it's interesting, because I hear some people, they're like, and I fully understand where they're coming from with this, is don't compare yourself to others and don't have other people influence you. However, though, sometimes I feel like that is the best motivation. When you tell everybody your goals and your dreams, and it's like all of a sudden they keep you accountable because they ask you, what are you doing, right? They're seeing and looking at your actions, and that's basically what you ran. You told everybody, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jaris, you told everybody that, yeah, this is what I'm doing. I don't need this project management job or manufacturing job anymore. This is what I'm doing. And now people were like, oh, let's see if Jaris is actually going to do this, right?
Yes.
And that's awesome. So that's what was your deciding motivation behind it. So then if we're going to kind of switch little topics, but we're going to still talk about business. So building a business from scratch is very, very difficult. So what was the biggest thing that was kind of the hurdle that you really had to really define your skill set to develop? I don't know if it's like, advertising, automation, marketing. What was that one thing that kind of was the thing that you really had to focus on?
My communication skills, because I offer marketing for other businesses and companies, right? So I had to look at my own business and say, hey, how can I market another person's business if I'm not marketing and branding my own company? So that was the biggest thing for me, coming up with my own niche, coming up with a creative way to sell myself, sell my product, and at the same time, build up my brand.
So then what kind of resources helped you overcome that? And how did you really dive in and really develop that skill set of communicating the right way to the right niche?
The internet. I tell everybody, Google and YouTube was my biggest friend for 6 months at a time. Anytime I had a question about anything, I would literally Google it or look it up on YouTube. And the good thing about I found out was when you're actually hungry and you have questions and you spend a little time doing your own research, there are so many people in this world who are willing to help you without asking for anything. So I have a lot of people who saw my hunger and determination and I would ask questions. They would just come to the call, just send me emails, not looking for anything in return. Would just say, hey, look, when I first started out my marketing company, I did A, B, C, and D. This worked for me. Hope you try it. Let me know how it goes. And even till this day, I have a lot of people who are mentoring me who may not even know that they are actual mentors to me. So I tell anybody, I didn't really do this by myself. I have a lot of other people who I look up to, and I'm so thankful for today that took the time out to say, hey, look, I see somebody who's really trying. I'm going to help him the best way I can, whether they send other people to me, whether they would just give me a chance to do some marketing and advertising for their particular business. Even a lot of people already have their own marketing team. They just say, hey, look, I like what you're doing. I'm just going to give you a shot just to see how you are. So I asked for help, and people came to the call.
That's really cool. I like that style. And so, and I appreciate you kind of segueing into it. So when you're talking like mentors, I've heard like informal mentors and individuals that are actually mentored in your life that you consistently, learn from and that, have a lifestyle. Let me ask you, who's been a really big mentor that has been able to impact you and the way you think and just your lifestyle?
Honestly, not getting too religious and too spiritual, but I talk to God a lot. He's the number one, I can say, and I learned how to listen to get answers. Other than that, I got to give a shout out to, like I said, I love Gary V. I love Eric Thomas. Those were some of the main two motivational speakers that I was listening to. Also, I'm the type of person that I can find motivation from just about anybody. So what I was doing was I kind of made myself more people friendly. So when I'll be out in public, I would just strike up a general conversation with just about anybody. We just maybe talking about the weather, and I might be talking to a gentleman about the weather, and they might just be giving me some good advice or feedback about what I got going on in my personal life that they might not even be knowing, or that might not be their goal to, hey, look, I'm going to give this person some advice that, they don't know what I'm going through personally, but I just kind of open myself up, let my guard down a little bit. And one thing I found out is that, like I said, people are willing to help, but you have to trust yourself for one, and you have to surround yourself with people who are growing or doing what you want to do. So that's why I like about LinkedIn. When I signed up on LinkedIn, I started meeting so many wonderful people who have the same goals and the same ambitions that I do, because I wasn't surrounding myself on a day-to-day basis with people who were uplifting me particularly.
I love that. That is really awesome. And so those are the kind of people that you had, you know, that you were just obviously just shoving that kind of information in your head at all times. Now, I would like to kind of go back in the spiritual realm, because I think, you know, that is a really big impact. You know, and I've met people that are in the deepest, devastating situations, and what they've always called out to, whether you don't have a spiritual life or not, they always call out to God, and that's what I'm always intrigued with. And so, going back here, so when you're kind of having that conversation with God a little bit, let me ask you, what are some things that, verses or Bible, certain things, if that's, or what kind of conversations do you have to really kind of, allow you to be open and authentic and have, being able to listen?
Well, one of the conversations I can remember having, I had prayed a while back, several years ago. I said, I asked God to make things easy for me. And I had to revisit that prayer, because it just hit me like, why should I have things easy? What am I doing in my life that I should just have things coming out without having to work hard for them? So from that conversation, I began to realize that I was stronger than what I even was giving myself credit for. I also realized that I'm not in it by myself. So I tell anybody, if you're struggling with something, just take a seat back, take a deep breath, say a prayer, and you have to give it to Him. So I have to tell everybody, and I'm glad that you open up this door, because without my relationship with God, I would not be here. Because He allowed me to lean on Him, because I went through it. I mean, losing a job, trying to start a business, thinking you got everything going on, to making, several $1,000s a month, to just making a couple $100s a week. That is a big, very big difference. So I just woke up one day and I said, you know what? I have to start praying more. Then when I realized I just was praying, things still wasn't going how I thought they should be going. So I said, what am I missing? Along with prayer, I had to actually believe. So those affirmations were put into belief in my head. So I was praying, then I actually believed in what I was praying. Then I had to learn how to sit back. So meditation helps me to, once I pray, meditation helps me to clear my mind and kind of get the answer. So now, if I'm out in public and I feel like, okay, I'm trying to get a new client, right? I have learned how to listen without even having to use my ears, so to speak. I can watch, just sit back and watch a person's actions, and I'll learn everything that I need to know. A lot of times I save myself time and trouble from even dealing with people, because I'm learning more about my own energy. I'm learning about other people's energy. And the number one thing prayer did for me was it showed me who I was. So I had to look at my faults, my sins, the things that I thought, I was getting away with, my sneakiness, my whatever. I had to really look myself in the face and say, hey, look, these are your faults. I cannot judge anybody else. So from that moment, I realized, hey, worry about what I got going on, bettering myself. I cannot worry about anybody else or what they got going on, because the only thing I can do or change is myself. So my relationship with God is an ongoing thing. It's something I do every day, all day. Pray is in my head. And I just made a deal when I first signed up for my business. I said, look, I'm going to sacrifice on certain things that I like to do and activities I like to partake on in order to be successful. So I wouldn't say I kind of made a deal. I kind of made an agreement with God to say, hey, look, help me do this. I have a weakness for, let's just say, women. I'm going to stop fooling with the women, give you 30 days of it straight, 30 days, no sex at all. Now, God knows me. He knows, hey, I love my women. So I told him, if you can show me how to deal with this, then I know everything else was going to be all right. I went through that 30-day challenge, for lack of a better word, not dealing with any women at all, and he began to show me, hey, look, I'm going to help you with this business. So I tell anybody, When you're talking to God, you have to be honest because He already knows what's going on.
100%, man. Wow, you are preaching it. And I appreciate you just being authentic like that and just being straightforward with that. I mean, my gosh. I hope some of my audience guys, I hope you were able to really just take that information and just realize, Jaris is bringing it to you right now. He is just being straightforward, and that's what you have to do. You just be straight committed and just say, you know what, you realize your flaws, and you say, you know what, I'm not gonna, build that boundary, and you commit to it, and you burn that bridge and say, no way am I gonna do that. I'm not gonna be known as this individual. So, man, I appreciate you just opening up like that. And now let me ask you this, because, and I think this is what men really struggle with. At least this is what I struggle with for the longest time. Being real open. I think you said this earlier on, is just kind of like putting your guard down for a second and having that opportunity to bless someone and having them bless you. And, definitely in this social media world, this fictitious world, sometimes we all like to just put on these, look at my big mansion, look at this. And, a lot of people have been caught red-handed. They're not, they just put up this fictitious world. Let me ask you this. What helps you stay grounded and really allow to put that guard down so that there is that mutual, relationship and being, true, being authentic?
Because I learned one thing about when I was a manager, I would do good, the best I can, and people still weren't happy. So I'm like, man, y'all, come on now, look, I'm doing the best I can do. I'm trying to please everybody. It just hit me, you're not going to please everybody. So why not just be myself? And I'm learning that when I am my authentic self, my confidence is so high that when I'm talking to people, they're instantly drawn to that. When you are real and confident and you're being yourself, that's all I believe that people want out of this world. I'll give you an example. People don't really care what you do nowadays. As long as you can keep it real with them and say, if you're an alcoholic, no disrespect to the people that drink. But if you know you're a stone cold alcoholic and you're trying to date somebody, you just up front with them say, listen, guess what? I'm a stone cold alcoholic. I work every day, but guess what? I like to drink. You be real with that person. You'll be surprised at how many people say, you know what? I'm still going to date you. I'm still going to try to talk to you because you were real and straight up with me. So my realness saves me a lot of the time. My realness is what attracts people to me, and I've learned to embrace that. Hey, people like me because they know they're going to get the real, whether it makes me look bad, whether it's something I don't want to talk about, or whatever the case may be, I'm going to shoot it to you straight.
That is solid advice. So let me ask you this. So many times, I guess I see people just, it's easy to become fictitious. It's easy to just go out there and thinking that you're authentic, you're really not truly being yourself. How do you find yourself, man? What allowed you to really kind of embrace who you are, not embrace another person, not embrace Gary V, not become Gary V. We don't need another Gary V. We don't need another Tony Robbins. We need yourself, right? So how did you really find your voice?
I found my voice because when I first started, I was portraying like I had everything going on. So the people that, hey man, what happened? You're not working up here anymore. Hey, don't worry about it. I got my own business. Here's my card. I'm putting pictures of my business license on social media, just trying to get people to buy in that, hey, Jaris is not doing this, but he's still okay. And I would notice on social media one time somebody just sent a message in the comments, hey man, why don't you stop what you're doing and get a real job? And that bothered me for a long time, but I had to realize that let me figure out a way to use everything that's coming at me and use that to my advantage. So what I do is when I see or hear a negative situation, I play it off in my head for a little while. I take whatever positive parts of it that I can benefit from, I take that out. Anything that's negative, I just simply leave it alone. So I tell everybody, I realize, hey, look at myself in the mirror that I thrive on being real. I love being able to, somebody being able to, that don't know me, that talks to somebody else that does know me, and they say, look, how is Jaris? They say, look, man, that boy, he keeps it real. So to me, knowing that about myself gives me strength to say, hey, look, I don't care what I'm going through. I'm going to be myself because, like you said, we don't need another Gary B. And that's what helps me out because I understand I like to show people how to create what I like to call your own recipe. So I may take a little bit from Gary B, a little bit from Eric Thomas, a little bit from the guy on the street corner, a little bit from an old college professor, you know, my past experiences in my life, how I was raised by my parents. I add to that, subtract from it, whatever I need to do, and I come up with something that works for me. I've just been blessed to figure out what works for me, and I'm comfortable with that.
That is brilliant. You know, I was talking to someone earlier today, and you know, he said, you know, if you really think about it, you know, a lot of these success, you know, things and stuff like that are always the same. You know, the principles are always there. However, though, everybody has, you know, like 80% of the success principles are out there. 20% is us taking that and kind of making it our own, and then transforming it and attracting the right audience with our own story. And I think, you know, you're exactly right. You know, every little bit of piece is, you know, I've gotten from, you know, some of the Bible, some of this, some of that, you know, and it's just so interesting where you take it, you make it your own, and you share it with your audience. So then let me ask you this, and I appreciate you sharing, you know, a lot of this information and really diving down into this stuff. What has been one of the biggest struggles that you face, maybe in life, maybe, you know, spiritual, relationally, whatever it is? How did you overcome it? And, you know, who was there with you to support you?
I'll say it was the hate. I have a hard time dealing with people that hate and negative people because I'm such a good person. I'm good to everybody else. So when I first started building this business or this brand, I was just receiving so much negative feedback from so many people. But I have to give a shout out to my cousin who just came in here and a lot of other people who would watch me go through these negative situations. And when they were all done, they would say, hey, look, man, I don't care what that person's saying about you. You got it going on. Mm-hmm. You know, they're going to say, hey, look, you know, he had this. Now look at him. He's not making this kind of money. He's not living like this. He's a fraud. But my people, my family, people that really know me, they really have my back and they really keep me grounded. And they let me know, hey, look, man, we don't care what people are saying about you. We know what you got going on. We support you 100%. So that means everything to me.
So then let me ask you this. With the negative individuals, what did you have to do to eliminate them? I mean, obviously, I assume that you eliminated them from your life, but what did you have to do?
I had to realize where they were coming from, that they weren't negative because of me or something that they felt bad about me. They're negative because whatever they have going on in their personal lives, they're not happy. So I had to put myself in their shoes and realize that if somebody's being negative towards me or talking bad about me, it's something going on in their lives where they're not happy, they're not satisfied. So I had to, like I said, put myself in their shoes and kind of give them the benefit of the doubt and ask them, hey, look, ask myself, what's going on with this person as to why they're being so hard and why they're being so negative on me. Once I get past that, I realize, guess what? The people that are saying, hey, look, their book's not going to do anything or your business is not going to do anything, it's not funny, but I get a small kick out of when I know, hey, look, this person said this book is not going to do anything. I'm just going to be patient enough to wait to where they happen to run across somebody else that maybe have purchased a book or have seen my book advertising on social media. Then they come back and say, man, that book you got is pretty much, it's doing good, man. And I don't never feed into it and say, yeah, you know, 6 months ago you said I wasn't going to be anything. I don't do that. But it just lets me know, hey, I figured out a good way to use negative people to benefit myself and to push me forward.
Wow, man. That is top of the maturity, guys, and that is just obviously humbling as well, because I mean, let's be honest, I remember so many times when people didn't say, you know, they believed in me, and honestly, I can't say I had the maturity you had, Jaris. I would sit there and be like, you know what, that guy is stupid, he doesn't know what he's never going to succeed, you know, and I just appreciate that maturity, what you just shared, because, I mean, that just shows that you really are out there to really love people, you know, you realize, man, you're empathetical. You realize, man, that guy, that individual, the reason why they're saying that is because they're not right in their life, and they haven't really, understood that. So I think that's awesome, dude. That's really, really sweet, man. So then let's slightly switch up a little bit. So then, where are you headed, man? I mean, you're destroying LinkedIn. You really got an incredible personal brand right now. People are being attracted to who you are. What are some of your big goals, and how are you utilizing your personal brand to really share your story and share your information and attract the right customers?
That's a good question. My goal right now is to do exactly what I'm doing interviews, doing podcasts, working myself up, because this is all practice for me, right? For the big show, to do the big interviews and to do the big podcasts. And for 2020, I'm just working on personal growth, because I know that if I can continue to learn who I am, what makes me upset, what makes me happy, that I can be of service to other people, because the secret to me is you have to know who you are. Deeper than just your name, what values do you have? Where do you want to see yourself? So I kind of got all this stuff in my head of how I'm going to take Real One-on-One Consulting worldwide to be a business and a brand that people know, hey, look, if you're dealing with Real One-on-One Consulting, you're going to get the truth. You're going to get realness. And that's just where I'm at. I'm networking right now. I'm meeting so many people. And I'm just kind of seeing what comes out of these conversations. So I feel like if I talk to somebody that have the same or similar values that I have,